Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ndifon Ntui. On this channel I make sewing tutorials. I post new videos on Wednesdays and on Saturdays, so please make sure to back on those days in order to watch new content. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe. If you are a beginner or if you are a person not pushed up on your skill, I offer online courses. I'll be showing a demo how to make a jumpsuit for you to watch and decide if it will be convenient for you to learn online. If you're interested, send a Telegram message number that you can see on the screen. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the video. Continue to have a lovely day. Bye bye. Alright, you're welcome to today's video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a two-piece sleeve like you've seen on the thumbnail. Before we begin, if you've not seen my video on how to draft a sleeve, make sure that you see that, because that's going to show you how to draft the first part of the sleeve. So as for the part that will be joined to the armhole of the jacket, you will have to see that in a separate video, because if I make that part of this video, it's going to make it too long. I'm trying to shorten this video, keep it as short and as brief as possible. So go and see my video on how to draft a basic sleeve, and that will show you the first part of the sleeve. I'm going to show you how to turn a basic sleeve into a two-piece sleeve. So that's what we're doing today. Okay, now in the video where I show you how to draft a sleeve, in that video I say your bicep divided by 2 plus the allowance that you want to use. But in this case, when you're drafting a two-piece sleeve, we do not add our allowance immediately. I'm going to show you how to go about adding your sewing allowance. But when you're drafting the sleeve, make sure to draft it without your allowance when you're placing your bicep measurement. Alright, so you can see here I have drafted this part of the sleeve. Okay, and so to understand what I was talking about is this: to understand what is going on here, you are going to need to see my video on how to draft the sleeve. But let's continue. The other measurements you will need are the distance from the shoulder to your elbow. You will need to have your elbow circumference. You need to know the sleeve length from shoulder to end of the sleeve, and you need to know your wrist circumference. But when you are taking the measurements for your wrist for a jacket that is not stretchy and isn't meant to sit very, very tight, make sure to take it a bit loose. Okay, so like for instance, my wrist normally is like a 7.5, but if I'm making like a jacket, I will take my my wrist to be like an 8.5. okay, so you're seeing there's like a 1 inch difference from what my wrist is and what I would take. Okay, so you see that. So the first measurement we will place is our sleeve length and the length from our shoulder to our elbow. So the sleeve length we're working on is 24 inches. So I'm going to come here and make a mark at 24 inches. Sorry, it's 24.5. So I'll make a mark at 24.5. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark at the shoulder to the elbow. It's 12. I'm going to make a mark here at 12. Now the distance around our elbow is 13 inches. So it's 13 inches. So I'm going to divide 13 inches by 2. That's going to give us 6.5. So I'm going to come down to here and I'm going to make a mark at 6.5. If you don't want it to be so tight around the elbow, because there's nothing more uncomfortable than jackets where the elbow is too tight, it's instead of placing 6.5, I can add ½ inch to it and make it to be 7, meaning that I've turned it from 13 into 14 so that it doesn't sit too tight around the elbow. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place our wrist measurement. So like I said, make sure not to take the wrist measurement to be too tight around the wrist. The wrist that we're working with is 9 divided by 2 is 4.5, but instead I'm going to place 5. I'm not going to place 4.5, just like what I did at the elbow. The next thing you are going to do is you are going to connect these dots together. So after this, the next step is to cut out the sleeve. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our sleeve. So you see the center line we have here. You're going to need to fold both sides of your sleeve towards the center line. Okay, so you make a fold towards the center line. See that, and once the top part here and the bottom parts that you have of your sleeve, that's here and here, has touched the line, Then what you do is you draw a straight line down, okay? So you make a crease on the paper. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so after you have done this, next step is we're going to cut this out. We're going to need to use these sleeves to make, so we'll need to alter the sleeves in order to get what we want. So you see this point here where we have our elbow mark. That's this point here where we have the elbow mark. What you are going to do is simply rule a line straight across that point, because that point is going to be very, very important. After you have that, I want you to cut off both sides of your pattern. So you see this? Now, the main gist of a two-piece sleeve is that the sleeve is supposed to have its joining at the front and at the back, not underneath like we usually do for our sleeves. So the next thing we're going to do is you're going to use a tape. If you have like a paper tape, use that to glue both these patterns together at the top and at the bottom, okay? Okay, so you can see I have taped this pattern down. What you have to do is make sure that these two parts here at the top touch and the bottom touch. You happen to have a little curve of like half an inch inside here like I do, it's fine, it's not an issue. I'm going to transfer it to our paper. That will not interfere. So what we're going to do is this. You take this pattern, you place it on top of your paper, okay? So your pattern paper like so, and then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to make a curve around, you see this line here, this is your elbow line that I told you is very important. We're going to need to use it at this point. Roll a line, just roll a straight line across these points, okay? After you have done that, you come to the bottom too, roll a line across the bottom. That's the hem of your sleeve, okay? After you have made these two lines, okay, what we're going to do now, if it's when you see a two-piece sleeve, you will notice that there's a slight curve and it's facing towards the front. So make sure not to get this mixed up, because you see this part here where we have the marking. This here is the front of your sleeve. The part here where we don't have a lot of markings around here is obviously the back of your sleeve. So whatever we do, we have to make sure that all the patterns here are facing the front. What we're going to do is this. It's quite simple. We're going to come in front of here. You see this? In front of this point here, 1 inch after the end of this point that we have over here, of the hem of the sleeve. I'm going to come forward and I'm going to make a mark at 1 inch. You see that? We make a mark at 1 inch here. What we're going to do next is, you see this line that we have here, this line that we have running across the bottom, you're going to come after it. So lift this side here up after 1 inch and make a mark. You see this? This is the edge of the sleeve. You're going to come 1 inch after it and make a mark over there. Okay? So with that we have shifted it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to need to make a curve. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to come to the front here, but we need to draw a line. I'm going to come to the front here, make a mark at half an inch on top of here. You see this line that I had here, make a mark at 1 inch on top of here, and you see this line, this mark I have here. Okay, we're going to make a mark half inch below that point. So basically, this line that we had running across here, this is the point where we came 1 inch away from the edge. We're going to mark half inch here and half inch here. Next thing we're going to do is roll a line that cuts across both of these lines that we have. Okay, so we had a center line, half inch, 1 inch away from here we made a mark, 1 inch away from the edge of the sleeve we made a mark. Okay, we now came half inch down on that line and half inch up, and we rolled our line. Now the next thing I want you to do is you are going to draw a line from this point to this elbow point. Okay, and then you are going to draw another line. See this elbow point here, we're going to connect it to this line that we have over here. Now for all the other sides of the sleeve, we're going to mark them to be exactly the same. With this, we have basically dragged the under part of the sleeve. Okay, so now what I want you to do is you're going to need to add whatever hemming allowance you want on your sleeve. So if you want 1.5 like I do, simply come under here, make a mark at 1.5. Remember that when we cut this out, when we cut out these patterns, we need to join them back. And ordinarily, if we want to join here to here, if we don't add any half-inch allowance, our sleeve will become too small. So what we are supposed to do in theory is we're supposed to give half-inch of allowance here and half-inch of allowance to the top so that it fits perfectly. But what we are going to do, so that means, okay, now check this out. If we had given here half-inch and given the top half-inch, half plus half is equals to 1 inch. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut half-inch away from the bottom part of the sleeve. That's this under part of the sleeve. I'm going to cut away half an inch and I'm going to give that to this point. So instead of adding half-inch here, I'm going to reduce all of here by half an inch at every point around the sleeve. So I'm going to cut half-inch from here all the way down, half-inch from here all the way down, okay? And I'm going to take that half-inch and give it to the front. Already we're supposed to add 1 inch, okay? We're supposed to add 1 inch to pay back for our sewing, but because of this half-inch, I've taken away from the back. I'm going to add that half-inch to this 1 inch, making this 1.5. So I'm going to need to add 1.5 inches to the front, to the side of the front when I'm cutting, so that by the time I sew, everything will land to the perfect sleeve that we had. But for now, I'm going to trim both sides of the bottom sleeve by half an inch on both the front side and on the back side. That's what I'm doing now. So also on the front, we don't need to do any taping, but you will need to secure it down to your paper, because we're going to need to curve it. Now you need to know the front of your sleeve and the back of your sleeve, where we have most of our marks, okay, all these marks. This is the front of the sleeve, and this other side where you see nothing is the back of the sleeve. The gap or the bridge between both of them is this line that we have running from the top all the way down. Now I'm going to need to tape this. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a line across the elbow point. So you see this point where we have the elbow, we're going to roll a line. Basically what we did in the front, all the way across. Also, we're going to come over here. So you see here, we're going to roll a line from here straight down, okay? And then we're going to roll a line from here straight down. So the 2 points, okay? This is the edge of the front, this is the edge at the back of the sleeve. So we're going to make a mark on both of a line running across both of them, and we're going to need to make a line across the bottom of our sleeve. Okay, after this has been done, it's basically what we did before, but this time for the front, we're going to come out here by 1 inch, make a mark, okay? Then at the back, you see this line that we have, this is the edge of the sleeve. From the edge of the sleeve at the back, we're going to come in by 1 inch. You see this from the edge, look at where I made a mark on the edge. You lift this guy up, from this line you come in by 1 inch and you make a mark. Okay, so these are the 2 points that we have. Now the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to connect this line from our elbow line. We're going to connect here straight down, okay? And then also do not forget what we did in the last sleeve up here, okay? In this line that we have here in front, we're going to come up by ½ inch. You see that? We're going to come up by ½ inch. You place ½ inch on this line and mark the top of your tape. And at the back, that's over here where we made this X, we're going to come down by ½ inch. Okay? So you see that? So we have a line, this line running across. Okay. So we've made a mark from here to this point. Next thing, we have to repeat the same thing on the back. So from the elbow point here, we're going to draw a line from the elbow point to this X that we have down here. Okay, and then what I need you to do is simply just trace. And then after you have traced out the rest of the body, it's okay for you to take this piece off. Okay, so this is the main block, but remember we're going to need, remember at the bottom part we didn't add any allowance to the bottom part of the sleeve. As a matter of fact, we even removed ½ inch from both sides of the sleeve, and I said we need to pay back first of all about 1 inch for sewing allowance and the ½ inch for that ½ inch that we removed on both sides of the back. So we're going to need to pay back 1.5 on both sides of our sleeve. Okay, I'm basically just smoothing out the lines at this point. You know those edges, those sharp edges that I had, they were too sharp, so I was just smoothing them out. I was trying to just smoothen them out. Alright, so the next step is to cut out sleeve. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fabric on the fold and I'm going to cut out these two pieces. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. And after I cut out my pieces, I'm going to iron interfacing onto them, and also I will cut the lining for them. You guys know that if I don't put interfacing, I have not yet started sewing. Alright, so I'll show you how to cut out the pieces and I'll cut out the lining. But as for the lining, I'm going to make my lining to sit 3 inches shorter. So my lining is going to stop somewhere around here, okay? Okay, so this is the first sleeve. I went ahead to piece the first sleeve together. Okay, you can see there's a slight tilt here moving forward. You can see that from here it slopes forward a bit because of how we cut it. This is the inner part here. You can see the two stitches. Everything is looking clean. Also on the inside, you already know, look at how the inside is looking. Everything is clean on the inside as well. So yeah, let me show you how to achieve this. So the first thing you need is both sides of the sleeve, of course. Then you're going to turn it to the wrong side. First on the fabric, turn it to the wrong side and lay it perfectly. So you can see, just keep it facing fabric. Look for where you have the tilt on both of your sleeves. So it's on the inside here that I have the tilt on both of them. Now after you have sorted this out, what you want to do is you want to also place your lining. Okay, you want to place your lining, you know, facing the same place. So you see where the inner curve is facing on my fabric. Okay, see where the inner curve is facing on my fabric. I have it facing the same direction on my lining as well. And then what you want to do is place your lining accordingly. Okay, so make sure to do the same thing. Check and see that the curve on your lining is facing the same direction. And after you have done this, you can simply fold it exactly like so, or you can pin it together and keep it so that it doesn't get messed up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to stitch on the front. Alright, so now make sure that you start from the bottom. When you are sewing, start from the bottom and stitch all the way up. Now when you're done with this, I'm going to need to head back to my ironing table. I'm going to spread and iron this flat. Alright, so now after you have ironed both sides flat, like you've seen the way I've ironed my seam flat here, what you are going to do is you are going to take your fabric. You see this? You see where I have this first seam, okay? I'm going to open it up like this, and I'm going to open up the front of the sleeve. I'm going to keep it front facing front. You see that the clean side facing the clean side over here. And now I'm going to stitch from here all around. Now once I start from here, it's going to take me from here and it's going to bring me back to this point, because the sleeve is a circle, so it simply just go in a loop and then bring me back here. Okay, so you can see with that I have finished the sleeve. Next, just to give it a good press, you can see there's even a slight curve going on here. If I drop it, you can see the sleeve is curving. That's because it's tilting towards the front of the wearer of the sleeve. So I'm going to need to give this a good press So you can see that's how you do it. Nice, simple, and neat. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching this far. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.